Hello, my name is Javier Martin, and I will be talking to you today about our celestial red companion. Have you ever looked at the stars and just thought about how vast space is? About how many millions upon millions of planets there are out there? Well, if you have, you're not alone. Our ancestors did much of the same thing. Be it the Egyptians, the Greeks, or the Romans, they all turned their head towards the heavens and thought about the unexplainable. They saw formations in the stars and created mythological characters with supreme powers to try to explain them. One of these stars that stood apart from the rest was given the name in Greek Aries, or the Roman name Mars. It was labeled the god of war because it had a red glow to it and didn't follow the pattern of the rest of the stars. It wasn't until 1659 that Christian Huygens examined the planet thoroughly and noticed a black patch on the planet that would appear, disappear, and then reappear within a 24-hour period. He determined that it had a rotation, like on Earth, of 24 hours. He later spotted a white speck at the southern pole of the planet and published a book in the 17th century that gave the characteristics of a planet that could possibly have extraterrestrial life. Giovanni Schiaparelli in 1877 mapped out the planet and used the word canali, which was translated into canals, and hysteria broke loose because they believed that there were canals on the planet that weren't naturally made. And this hysteria continued until it reached the epitome of chaos in 1938, when there was a radio broadcast of H.G. Wells' famous novel, War of the Worlds, where it depicted Martians landing on New Jersey, and people believed it and went crazy. NASA put an end to it, though, with their creation of their first vessel, the Mariner 4. It orbited the planet and took close-ups of the surface, and they discovered craters that were very similar to the craters that we had recently discovered on the moon. In 1975, Viking 1 and 2 landed on the surface. Viking's primary purpose was to analyze besides take pictures of the surface, it was to analyze the chemical composition of the surface itself. And in 1996, our first rover lands on Mars. This rover was called the Pathfinder and took over 500 images and 15 chemical analyses. And its lifetime was exceeded by 12 times. Then came the orbiter Odyssey. Odyssey was in charge of just mapping all the chemical elements of the planet, and it identified regions of potential frozen ice. NASA had its goal of discovering if life was once there on Mars. So in 2003, they developed Mars Express, and Mars Express looked beyond the surface of Mars to subterranean possibilities of water. And they discovered that there were glacial activities and volcanic eruptions. Then came my favorite, which was in 2004, Spirit and Opportunity. They were twin rovers that examined rock structures on the surface and brought HD quality images of the surface of Mars. Truly spectacular footage. Here we can see 3 images. One was just when the rovers had landed, and you can see their tracks leaving. Another one was recently taken of a cannon on Mars, and it's been 13 years, and Opportunity is still alive and kicking on this Martian surface. Then in 2012 came what I call the Curiosity rover, which is basically Spirit and Opportunity on steroids. This new rover is the size of a car. It has a drill that analyzes the material on the planet and takes high quality pictures. Now, in 2020, the European Space Association and the Russians have gotten together to develop a new rover that will analyze organic molecules to discover if there was once life on Mars. NASA is also developing a new rover with a larger drill so they can get larger, more significant samples of the Martian surface. But you're going to ask yourself, how is that going to get back to the planet for it to be analyzed? Well, they're going to develop a sample of a return thrust which will be deployed once it lands on the Martian surface. It will open up and will be ready for liftoff and return to the Earth. Then they are also thinking about developing planes for Mars. The problem with these planes is that they're going to have to be going at really high speeds because of Mars' very thin atmosphere. So they are thinking about deploying them when they are reaching the surface, before they reach the surface. And the ultimate goal is to get humans on Mars. This is going to happen in the mid-2030s, and we have the Orion mission in the works, and it's extremely exciting. I hope you enjoyed the presentation.